Are you crushing it?
Welcome to the Five Live Bears podcast. We're glad you're joining us tonight. We're excited because we are going to be doing our second ever pitch episode. That's where we come up with a movie plot or a TV plot, and we just fill it in as we go. The very first time we did this, Aaron already had a pre-planned amazing Santa Claus movie sequel. If you haven't listened to that one, I encourage you to go listen to that and listen to Santa Claus 4, The Undead Claus. That was a good one. Tonight we changed up things a little bit. Instead of having something pre-planned, John has bought and made some dice with some different genres, some different types of movies. We rolled them beforehand, and we came up with, we are going to do a horror comedy spoof. So we are going to be spoofing a horror movie, making it a comedy. We haven't pre-planned anything out. We haven't told each other what we're thinking. We have not. We don't have anything wrote down. This could be a complete and utter diarrhea wheelbarrow, or it could be whatever the top of that that chain is. Brian, what is the top of that?
I'm not sure. We've only been focusing on the negative
Only
for so long.
we need positives. But real quick around the room.
It can't be any worse than last week. So last week's podcast was a diarrhea wheelbarrow.
Awful.
I mean, it was absolutely the worst.
Yeah.
We opened our mouths and diarrhea.
Well, it wasn't what we were saying. It was the idea that we had 5 missed starts and we just completely lost our train of thought last week.
If you're not familiar with the show, there are 5 of us. We have Aaron in Texas. How's it going, Aaron?
It's going pretty good.
Good to hear. John, of course, our illustrious producer. John, how's life?
Oh, it's great. Another week.
Charlie, our resident guy that looks like he could kill me at any moment.
Do I, because of the way I look at you? Or
No, just in general, you look
Okay.
like you could kill
I
me.
look menacing?
You do look menacing.
If at any point you hear this music, you know Tim's about to die.
Charlie's giving him the evil eye.
I'm just super peachy, Tim.
Super peachy.
Not what I was expecting.
Is
But
that
anyways,
better than
Brian.
Super strawberry?
Brian, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm hanging out with you guys on a Friday night. It's awesome.
Speaking of fruit, has everybody tried the pineapple pie upstairs?
It's pretty good.
Fantastic.
Nope.
I am going to try it here. You don't like pineapple?
I don't like pie.
What does Tim not?
I mean, that's not surprising at all.
I like pecan pie.
I used to love going
Pecan
to.
pie is the best pie.
That's about it.
I used to love.
Twice in one night we've agreed on something.
What about derby pie, Charlie? You don't like pecan pie with chocolate
kind
in
of
it?
the same thing.
I mean, it is.
It
good,
is.
But pecan pie is the best
yeah.
pie.
Last week
because
was
derby
the
pie's
alignment.
pecan pie with
Derby's a
chocolate.
little bit too rich sometimes.
Bingo.
Then you haven't had the right one. You can't
Maybe.
see me, Tim, when it comes to desserts.
Well, when you-
We're not
when
pitching
you-
a movie tonight. We're talking about pie.
That's right.
Pitching
We talking about pie,
We're pitching
not a cake,
pies.
not a cake pie. We ain't talking about baking it. We're talking about making it.
All right, here we go, guys.
Dang, Brian.
We are going into our horror comedy spoof. Here we go.
I
Starting
was
off.
happy talking about pie.
Fake it till you make it. That's the name of the movie.
Does anybody have any? Let's just go with a basic.
go?
What movie are we going to spoof?
What do you got?
Well, Aaron's got an
Aaron's,
idea.
Aaron's got the idea here.
Okay.
Let's let Aaron jump in with his
So
idea.
there's a type of horror film like Child's Play or Jack Frost where there's like a serial killer that gets killed, but his soul gets transferred into some type of object,
Okay.
and that becomes our killer. So I'm trying to think of something that's the most harmless thing possible, like an ant or a squirrel or something.
But it has to be an inanimate object, doesn't it? And that's the whole point. In Jack Frost, an inanimate snowman that gets transferred,
Okay, so we're talking about.
like a garden gnome.
Ooh, there you go. The soul of a serial killer gets sucked into a garden gnome.
It could be one of the many gnome films that come out every year.
Yeah, exactly. It could come out at the exact same time as the animated gnome movies. So we're going with the soul of a serial killer sucked into a garden gnome in the same way of Child's Play and Jack Frost. Charlie is giving the dirtiest of looks right now. He is not on board
Do
with
I get to
this.
play the music?
Yes. Just keep it going the whole time.
Charlie is going to kill somebody by the time
That's almost the
I-
Unsolved
I
Mysteries music right there.
I am to horror films as John is to Godzilla.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So we're like on sacred ground here, dude.
So
Yeah.
if you countered it, okay, that's Aaron's idea. What would you go with your idea?
That doesn't. I mean, I don't have one.
Okay.
And if I did, I did have one that I pitched, but both of you all poo-pooed it. So
I like that one.
What-
I
what
liked
was,
it.
what was yours?
I really
I
did.
I don't think that. I think if I mentioned it on the podcast, John will be like, "No, it's like dealing with middle schoolers and flip the table." So I don't. I'll tell you later.
I was gonna say I totally missed this.
Yeah, you were. I was standing right.
We'll let
Oh, I was watching the Power Rangers trailer. Sorry.
well, that is important. I understand.
we'll let Charlie tell you off.
I mean, it looked like Tommy
All
was
right.
coming back.
Well, let's roll with this. We've got a garden gnome serial killer.
I like the stepbrother Joey to Jason, but
That's good too.
Okay.
you know.
All right.
because then they could
Good.
like
That's
they
our
could,
two
like,
choices,
They could like
okay?
they could like kill people to have room for more
Aaron didn't
activities.
hear that,
you
though,
know?
did he?
No, Aaron, here's our choices. We got your idea, and then we got Brian's idea, which is Jason's got a little brother named Joey Voorhees.
We have polarized into two groups
All right.
this evening.
And it's
I am
it's-
my own group.
and
I'm
it's
a
all
wolf
about
pack of
Joey
one right now.
Voorhees.
So what
Joey
if it's this?
Voorhees.
What if it's
The
what if it's the
garden
camp that's next to Crystal Lake? Like it's not the same camp, and they're hearing rumors about Jason, and they're getting all the facts wrong. So they're kind of creating a monster that doesn't really exist, and they're kind of freaking out over it.
Okay, so they're making their own Jason,
but it's Joey.
but they've called him Joey, and he wears, instead of a hockey mask, he wears
a catcher's mask.
or lacrosse helmet.
a lacrosse helmet
Lacrosse helmet would be better.
with a mouthpiece.
yeah.
That's right. So nobody can ever understand. So we're at, instead of at Camp Crystal Lake, what camp are we at, Charlie?
Camp Dirty Water.
Is it Crystal Pepsi?
Camp Crystal Pepsi.
Charlie's like, I can have no
great
part
product placement.
I'm dumbfounded right now, guys. We're doing the Mexican hat dance around my idea, and it's hurting my feelings.
All right. Well, we're at Camp Crystal Pepsi. Campers
use
are
Pepsi?
there. Yeah, I mean, I'm sponsored by Pepsi.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Well,
Is
you
there
know.
somebody upstairs having a seizure or something?
It's just running around.
So we're at Camp Crystal Pepsi, where students have gathered, all right, and they have gathered around the campfire to tell the legend of Camp Crystal Pepsi, the serial killer that killed people in the past. They think his name
It's Joey.
Is Joey.
But he killed them by using Mentos in the lake.
No, that's how he was killed.
Oh, that's how he was killed.
That's
Oh,
how
okay.
he was
Sorry, I got
killed.
the backstory wrong.
Well, see, that's the whole thing about it is there has to be a element of revenge in all of these horror movies like this.
So the lake, instead of it being a crystal lake, the lake at Camp Crystal Pepsi is actually made out of Diet Pepsi.
That's absolutely ridiculous.
And so one day, when little Joey's out there, all the other campers pour Mentos
Like, hey, look, watch Joey.
into the lake.
here's
And
They're
it-
not being watched by the camp counselors, so they put the Mentos in the lake.
and it,
But
and
the
it
camp counselors aren't doing what they did at Camp Crystal Lake because Camp Crystal Pepsi is obviously full of idiots. So instead of being fornicators and drug users, they're playing Dungeons and Dragons.
I like it.
yeah. And so by the Mentos being poured into Camp Crystal Diet Pepsi Lake,
Because on Dungeons and Dragons,
Wow.
it said if you
Oh.
were a true follower,
I'm gonna-
you will throw Mentos in
All
the
right.
lake.
I'm going to switch it up on you guys.
Okay.
Though.
okay,
Camp Crystal Pepsi is all nerds. But Joey Voorhees is not a little guy. He's a jock who got the wrong invitation to the wrong camp.
Ooh.
So instead of the special needs person being drowned in the lake, so, i.e., Friday the 13th, it's like the Brock, the jock bro
super
dude.
muscular jock
Like
guy.
he's wearing like Abercrombie and Fitch and has like his hat around backwards and he's broing everybody like, okay, we just play ball, bros. And they push him in the lake because they're all jealous that he's not,
Yeah.
or not jealous, but they hate the fact that he's not into D&D, and therefore he gets.
so they get him in the lake by telling him there's a water polo
No,
match.
they just push him in there.
they just push him in. Okay.
It takes the
all
whole
right,
camp.
Aaron. When they pour
This group that have been nothing but bullied their entire lives become the bullies. They
Aaron,
turn.
when they pour the Mentos in there, what does it do to Joey?
Tickles his fancy.
It
Of course.
shoots him out of the lake, and they never find the body.
He literally like
It
a
rockets
like a
him out.
fountain that
Yes.
shoots him out, and they never find the body. Okay, but then the next year, all the nerds come back, and suddenly, bodies start piling up.
No pocket
So
calculators.
should it be like bully things happening? Like a kid got a wedgie or something, or like he got like a
Well, see, yeah. How are these nerds killed? I have to agree with Aaron on this. Is it nerd inflicted damage, like
yes,
with
they're
power wedgies?
They're stuck
and,
with like a compass and
like,
a protractor
He makes
Uh,
one of them run for like a mile and a half, and they have a heart attack.
to their feet bleed.
No, they just have a heart attack because
Oh,
they're not
okay.
used to that type of activity.
Okay.
All right,
They don't
Or-
do this.
or
They play
does he
Dungeons
like-
and
does he like-
Dragons and video games.
Does he like,
Stop it.
so he electrocutes them through their controllers?
That's a good one too.
all
There's
right.
some
So,
hangings with some controller cords.
so let's start off then. Everybody's there. The counselors are there. We have our first death. How does the first death occur?
do we want to cast the movie first? Like who's in the movie?
Sure. Okay. Who do we want Joey the jock to be?
Is this set? Is this? Were we making this film in present day, or were we making this film in the 80s?
it's now.
Eight. Okay.
Well, whatever y'all want. I'm sorry. I'm looking at Internet Movie Database.
Well, I mean, the name
Ooh.
Joey just brings up one idea to mind, and if it was made in the 80s,
Okay.
we could have Joey from Friends.
Joey Tribbiani.
I think he would be the perfect
Matthew-
jock dude.
How you doing?
No.
Take
I
a
just wanna
Mentos.
play some baseball.
Yeah.
I got the stick ball.
Well, he
here.
was in that baseball movie with the monkey.
With
Oh
Joey.
God.
Yeah. So you want our jock to be Joey Tribbiani?
I mean, I doesn't. I mean, we can do this democratically. We can go. We can think of different people. I mean, I am the one that brought up Jason Momoa. I'm just saying.
I was kind of leaning towards Jason Momoa again.
So it's just every movie we
Every
have.
movie.
Okay.
Well,
we
hang on,
make
time out.
is Jason Momoa.
But I had to look something.
When you said Joey in the '80s, I immediately thought of Joey
Joey-
from Blossom.
Joey
That
Lawrence.
too. Yeah.
Whoa.
But there
Like,
has
that
to
would be
be
the sound the killer makes.
there has to be a big Easter egg in this movie because it's a nerd movie, and instead of playing Dungeons and Dragons, they're playing the Tom Hanks spectacular from 1982 known as Maze and Monsters. Remember? Does
No.
anybody in here remember seeing
No,
Maze
you-
and Monsters? Yes,
I-
Charlie's shaking his head.
I have no idea.
One of the most terrifying movies ever because it was Dungeons and Dragons takes over your mind, and that's what
sounds
happens in Mazes and
horrifying.
Monsters.
All right,
so
so-
they're playing Mazes and Monsters.
Who is Joey? Is it Joey Lawrence? Is it Joey Tribbiani? Or is it Jason Momoa? Three choices.
It's not Momoa.
Not Momoa. Are we going to go with Joey Lawrence and his killer sound is whoa? Okay, there we go. Joey Lawrence is our bully killing the kids. All right, so we have our first death. How does our first nerd die?
A beehive gets attached to an inhaler.
What?
That sounds like an
Gosh.
actual Jason movie.
Yeah, he tries to use the inhaler. There's bees in it.
Well,
Oh,
I mean,
it
but that's a good idea. But maybe instead of it being a whole beehive, maybe just like some bees are put into the inhaler,
Yeah.
into the actual like, plastic part.
Well, it depends on how
So it's highly allergic.
One of them big like Bugs Bunny,
Biggest inhaler ever.
the big Bugs
I don't know why
Bunny
my inhaler
beehives
got
on
so
top
Big
of it.
Acme on
But
the side of it.
That, I mean, we also that is kind of there's a beehive killing in sleepaway camp. So
Well, I was thinking that the way they get him out there though is like he's walking across the cabin floor,
Yeah.
and a set of monsters and magic dice like roll in.
No, a pack of Mentos rolls on the floor.
Yeah, should the victims like foam at the mouth of Mentos?
Yes.
Like when they find them, there's like
Well,
Mentos.
and therein lies the next thing. Does it always have to be like bees in a inhaler, or is it just everybody dies at the hands of having Mentos shoved in their mouth and Diet Pepsi poured in?
And he goes, whoa.
I mean, it could be either one. I mean, I'm fine with whatever.
Beehive's good because everybody has to die differently in these movies.
Okay.
That's
So-
the
Yeah, but the
whole
first
point.
one's usually mild, isn't it?
Yeah,
First
they kinda,
one,
they kind of ratchet.
the first
it
one
up.
could be an incident. Oh, this kid
Choked
used
on a
his
Mento.
inhaler, and he didn't know that a bee had gotten into his inhaler, and he had an allergic reaction. So it's an accidental death.
So who do we decide was Joey?
Joey
Joey
Lawrence.
Oh, so it's a woo every time
Yeah.
after every death.
So they're all there at
Whoa.
You
that
hear him at night saying that
at
out
dinner, and they hear this woo, and they come out and they find nerd number one dead. He's had an allergic reaction to a bee, and they chalk it up as an accident. Everybody goes. Go ahead, Aaron.
There's a pack of Mentos in his pocket.
And there's a pack of Mentos in his pocket.
The calling card. I
Yep.
love it.
So everybody goes to bed that night. Everybody's sad and in mourning. And then over in one of the cabins.
Oh, morning, like I'm sad. Not,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
in the morning. Okay, okay.
In one of the cabins, somebody hears really faintly, whoa. And it starts to get a little bit louder.
So who are the nerds? Who's
didn't-
starring as the nerds? Did we ever establish who's in this movie?
Establish the nerds. If we're going mid-90s nerds, we got Joey Lawrence. So Screech is in it.
Yeah.
Screech is one of Anthony Michael Hall is one of the nerds. Screech.
The kid from did I do that?
Yeah,
Oh,
Steve
Urkel.
Urkel, yeah.
Urkel's in it.
Urkel's in
Of
it.
course Urkel is in it. Oh my gosh.
Skippy from Family Ties.
Skippy from Family Ties.
These kids from Mighty Ducks or Sandlot, like that big kid. What's his name?
Yeah,
The big redheaded kid from Sandlot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right, I like it. We need like 2 more nerds. Or nerds, we need counselors.
Well, Anthony Michael Hall would be a counselor if it's mid-90s.
Gary Schroeder would be a
The guy that plays Booger
Yes.
is the other counselor.
Charles DeMar.
Is Ernest a counselor?
Ernest is the camp director.
No, well,
Ernest is Ernest.
Ernest. Well, Jim Varney who could be the crazy guy who knows what everything's going on.
Oh, like the groundskeeper?
yeah,
Yes.
they
You're all doomed.
He always tells the stories. He comes up to him. So after the first kid dies, the next morning they're at breakfast, and he comes up and he's like, "Hey, Vern,
Did you see that
did you
pack of Mentos that boy had?
Did
in
you
his
guys
pocket?
ever hear the story of Joey? What happened to his body? They said they never found it,
It's all your fault.
but they say that you can hear him in the woods at night. Whoa, whoa, whoa. You know what I mean, Vern?" And then he just walks off, just like that. And so we have our second death. What happens in our second death?
Ooh,
Anybody?
They're playing Dungeons and Dragons, and they roll a dice, and the game master says, "Oh, so and so got killed," and then right then that character actually gets killed, like an axe to their head or something.
This is Final Destination.
that's not a nerd death.
And normally you wouldn't do it in a
The
room full of
dragons
people.
and whatever he said happened to the character happens
Well-
in real life.
Well, what happens is they're all sitting in the cabin and it's at night and they're playing Dungeons and Dragons or Mazes and Monsters, and one of them rolls the dice, and when they roll it, it goes off the board. And in all these old cabins, knowing that we've been to a lot of camps,
a hole in the
there's
floor.
a hole in the floor.
Somebody's got to go.
So the
underneath.
dice goes down in the hole in the floor and it's on the ground, and then somebody's like, "You got to go get it." And the kid from Sandlot, the big redhead kid's like, "I don't want to." It's like, "Well, you rolled it. You got to go get it." So out the door he goes, and you have the music playing. Hang on. You have the music playing in the background. It's foggy, and all the cabins are up off the ground on these posts, so he has to crawl up in there. And as he crawls up in there to get the dice, he reaches for the dice, and he hears behind him, he hears this, "Whoa!" And then all you see is his face going, "Oh!" And he gets the power wedge of disbelief
He gets a wedgie so bad that it kills him.
that it just goes all the way up, baby.
And again, the camp counselors blame it as an accident. They say
He got hung on a nail.
he got hung on a nail. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's
And so
legit.
they're refusing to believe it. But the kids,
Are starting to
the
think.
kids are starting to wonder because the next morning, here comes Ernest, and he goes, "Hey, Vern, that wasn't an accident last night.
like, got to
because
go.
right before
You can't give yourself a power wedgie. I tried."
because right before Joey was thrown into the lake last year, somebody,
Right. Somebody gave him a wedgie.
as he was falling toward the water, somebody reached out and grabbed him and wedgied
And he
him.
goes, "I think it's Joey. You know what I mean, Vern?" And he leaves.
Yeah.
So so we are down to like 4 nerds now, all right? And so they are starting to band together. They're going to take out Joey. They now believe he's true. The camp counselors don't think it's true. We've got to come to a point where this final 4 group of people, like Screech, Urkel, and Skippy, and whoever else, how are they going to have this final battle with Joey?
They put on LARPing armor.
Okay, so we have a little bit of a montage where they're making their own LARPing armor.
Out
Okay.
of cardboard.
And the song that plays is "Nothing My Love Can Fix for You, Baby." The song Joey Lawrence put out in the '90s.
Yes, it's a Joey.
Whoa, nothing my love can fix for you, baby.
Exactly, Joey Lawrence song. And and while this is going on, we see Booger is in the counselor cabin, and he hears something behind him, and he thinks it's the kids messing around. He's like, "Knock it off, guys!" And and right before he turns around, we hear this, "Whoa!" And he turns around, and this is where we first see Joey for the first time since the incident. What does he look like?
He looks just fine. There's nothing wrong with him at all.
Nothing wrong with him.
Perfect. Even
At
his hair's
all.
perfect.
Except he had like one tiny little like scab that has
Like
one little scratch. Like he landed in like this. They had just gathered some hay in the camp, and that's where he landed on this soft pile of hay.
Yeah. And
But when he rolled off, there was a pitchfork there, and he scratched his face.
And
There's a
it's
tiny
ruined
scar, and
his
he's
acting.
like, "Oh my gosh!"
What if it just ruined his hair?
just ruined his hair.
I like it. It did something small, either a small scratch.
But to him,
yeah, it feels like it's ruined his life. So how does he kill Booger?
Shoves his.
He slips Mentos into a sandwich, and then he eats it, and then drinks a soda.
Oh.
He just turned around and saw him face to
He
face.
hands him a sandwich.
Right. Sorry.
He hands him a sandwich. He's like, "Yo,
no,
Oh,
you
hang on.
guys, you got the right idea. You're just in the completely wrong ballpark." He gives his diatribe about how they ruined his face, they ruined his life. He's ugly just like them, but now it's time for them to pay. He has a funnel,
Okay.
and he knocks Charles DeMar from Better Off Dead onto the ground, shoves the funnel down his throat, 4 packs of Mentos, and a 3-liter of Diet Pepsi, and he explodes.
It just explodes everywhere.
Explodes.
And the explosion is so loud that it catches everybody's attention.
And since Joey's in the room, he turns to the camera with the Mentos in his hand. He goes, "Mentos."
The fresh maker.
My microphone went off.
Yeah.
Anyways,
when does Blossom show up?
anyways, we got to wrap this up.
It's
We got to have Joey get killed.
Blossom.
When does she show up, right?
Well, in my opinionation, it'll be when the sun surely shines.
But I'm wondering if she was like coming back to the camp on the 1-year anniversary. Of
No,
his
she-
death, and then
she
therefore
didn't-
she's actually behind
She's
it.
in school getting her master's.
Yeah.
in
Yeah,
modern physics
okay.
right
All
now.
right, so
she didn't.
Urkel and Skippy and Screech
Screech.
have banded together. They're going to kill Joey. How does it happen?
Well, that's the thing. You've got to have the one lone survivor.
Okay.
So
gotta
we
be
take care
Urkel.
of Screech goes into a wood chipper.
Okay.
A random wood chipper out of nowhere shows up and Screech goes in.
Yeah.
Right.
And kind of like in one of my favorite movies, Tucker and Dale vs. Evil, Joey doesn't touch him. He's just running away and trips and falls into the wood chipper.
Okay.
Then you got
Urkel.
He's gotta
I
be the
think
one- he's gotta be the one that
Urkel's
does
your
it.
survivor.
See, I
'Cause
think Skippy's your survivor.
But
And
Urkel
here's
could go, did I do that? At the very end when he kills him.
He could do that, but here's the thing: the survivor is generally the virgin, and I think Skippy's more virginal
Because
than-
at some
yeah.
point Urkel turned into Stefan
Yeah.
Urkel.
and exactly.
Yes.
And
So it was
Yeah.
a full moon one. It was a blood moon one
Got-
night, and he
got
turned into
Laura.
Stefan, right?
Okay.
So
Oh.
he Urkel. Let's see. How
And
does Urkel
something with
die?
the suspenders.
Oh, yeah.
He's running. His suspenders get caught in a tree branch, and he's left like hanging there.
Not in a tree branch, but there's a barn somewhere because there's always a barn somewhere.
Yeah.
It's one of those
It's
hooks.
it's Ernest's.
It's
Utility
Ernest
shed.
Woodshed.
Utility shed.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
He's running from Joey, but doesn't realize that he's hooked onto to this hook that you could like.
Yeah.
And so Joey just walks up and starts to pull the cord or the chain and lifts him off the ground, and he pinatas him. He just beats him to death with a hockey stick.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just goes full Joey.
He goes full Joey.
So here's how I think the ending should be. So there's some kind of final showdown between Skippy and Joey, and Ernest shows up to save the day. Like almost like how Home
Ernest
Alone,
Saves Christmas.
almost like in Home Alone where the old lady that
Oh, man.
or the old man shows up to save the
the
day.
shovel.
I think it's got to be something like that. So
At the-
he's
at the-
dragged
at the very end. Joey is going to push Skippy into the lake that he has
Yep.
got truckloads of Mentos somehow.
Yeah.
These serial murderers tend to have
He's got a lot of
endless
money.
supplies
He's got a
of
lot of
money,
money. He's got a lot of money.
So he's filled the lake full of Mentos and soda, and he's going to give Skippy the
lake's bubbling.
Yeah, his just desserts.
Uh-huh.
And at the very last moment, when Skippy's on the very edge of the
dock,
yeah. Ernest comes rolling in on his extremely fast lawnmower that's been like the only source of comedy in the whole film.
Right.
Oh, it's so fast,
It's-
sure.
and he's probably like, it's just been going in the background. He's off
Well,
of it.
he's never been on it. He's just talking about it's the fastest lawnmower in the county.
Just keeps going on in the background.
And so Joey's getting ready to push him in, and he's having his final diatribe, and Ernest just, it's like a Lamborghini on a lawnmower, and just knocks him in the leg.
And he's got that face where he's going,
and he goes, told you it's fast.
Now, does Ernest go into the lake with him?
No.
No.
Ernest survives.
Just
Ernest
the lawnmower,
always
and that's
survives.
what pins Joey on the bottom of the lake.
as
And we
the
think-
Minto explosion occurs,
and
he's
so we
stuck
think
in the
it's
wake
over.
of the Minto.
Yeah.
Until
And
the,
then him and the lawnmower go up,
yeah.
and the body not found again.
Until
Hence,
the,
you can have
until
a
the sequel. Yeah. So Aaron, what's our movie called? Aaron?
Aaron,
Tuesday the
Gone for 20
12th.
minutes.
Yeah, we may have lost Aaron.
Tuesday
Oh,
the
there you are,
12th.
Aaron. I'm sorry.
I mean, do we do a play on Friday the 13th or
yeah,
or
why
like,
not?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like Tuesday the 12th.
Tuesday the 6th.
Tuesday the 6th.
The birth of Joey.
Tuesday the 6th. The movie about Joey Lawrence killing nerds at camp.
That's too long to put on the
That's too long.
marquee.
What are we thinking, Charlie?
How about something with "whoa" in the title? I can't think of anything.
Well, in that case,
Well, that's it then. All right.
The
That is-
unsolved mystery of whoa.
Revenge of the Joey.
we'll see Tuesday the 6th.
Mintwoas.
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 Yes.
There you go.
Mintwoas.
Mintwoas.
Go see
Mintwoas.
Mintwoas, starring Joey Lawrence, Dustin Diamond,
on his big comeback.
Dustin Dunn.
Michael Jalil White, the guy that plays Booger, Anthony
Jim
Michael
Martin.
Hall, and the kid from Sandlot. Check it out. That's our pitch for tonight, Mintwoas. We'll be back in
Mintwoas.
just a minute. Welcome back to the Five Live Bear podcast. We got another amazing song that John is laying down for us. I love the titles that John gives these songs. John, what's this one called?
Hang on, I gotta count the numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Bumper 6.
Bumper 6, yeah. In case you're just joining us, in the first half of the program, we did our movie pitch, in which we did a horror comedy spoof about Joey
Charlie's
Lawrence
got that look in his eyes. I'm sorry.
called Mintwoas.
The-
It's a
The
spoof
non-fresh maker.
of the Friday the 13th movies,
When you think you're fresh.
and it's
Sorry.
got Ernest in it. That's all you need to know.
When
Go
you
check
smell
it out.
Mentos, you smell death.
But we're going to take the second half of the podcast here. Big news that came out last week: the Disney-Fox merger is complete. The shareholders have voted.
There was a Disney Fox merger?
Yeah,
I had no idea.
No idea.
Never heard
Yeah.
about that at all.
Which means the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, all of the properties except for what Sony has is now under one roof. And so that means a lot of things have happened. Aaron is going to go full Aaron on us here for just a few minutes. He's going to drop some knowledge on us, give us some stuff to talk about. So Aaron, if you will, go crazy.
Okay, so the merger's been okayed, but it won't go through until 2019, beginning of 2019. But Fox had a bunch of X-Men properties already in the pipeline, movies and stuff. So here's the rumor, and I have to say this is strictly a rumor, I don't know if it's true, that with the Disney deal basically done, that Fox is going to pull the plugs on New Mutants and X-Men Dark Phoenix, and they won't be released.
But weren't those movies basically made? I mean, Charlie and I were talking about that pre-podcast. Isn't New Mutants already made?
So let me read some more of this article. Hold on. It's further said that both movies are so atrocious, worse than the Fantastic Four, with bad storyline and acting, that the cancellation announcement would come after the shareholders vote.
So it's not that they're canceling because they don't want to make any more movies. It's that these movies have already been screened or so terrible they don't even want to be attached to them.
Is it something that possibly, Aaron? Do you think that maybe Disney execs got to see this and they're like, "Nah, cease and desist. You're not putting these things out. We're buying it. You're done."
It sounded like Fox was the one that said that. They said the New Mutants movie, basically the director didn't want to make a superhero movie, didn't care about the comic books, just want to make a scary movie with superheroes. And once the movie was completed, they basically brought on a second director, and we're going to have to refilm over half the movie. How bad it was.
Wonderful Fox. Way to screw up one of the best franchises in all.
Yeah, but if they
comic
don't,
history.
if they don't release it now, Marvel can possibly bring it back in and make it into something worth watching.
Yeah.
In a couple years. I mean, you're not. This is not a bad thing to. I mean, because Fox has already screwed up Fantastic Four so bad that there is.
It's going to take a lot from Marvel to.
Well, I don't know though, because I mean, Marvel has this tendency. If it's under the Marvel name, you know it's going to have a certain look, it's going to have a certain feel, it's going to have all these parameters that Marvel wants in these movies. It's not the Star Wars franchise where they're just letting them do whatever they want with it.
Sure.
This is one of them type things where it's just going to be they'll reboot it. So I think that it's a good thing. I mean, the Fox is pulling these 2 movies or 3 movies back because they're okay. Well, they just said they're crap,
Yeah.
and allowing. All right, we're not doing this. We're going to take the loss on it. It's Disney's problem now.
Right. I mean, I guess technically Disney will absorb those losses also.
So, more, they said the X-Men Dark Phoenix was described as the worst spinoff ever, and that seemed like everybody was phoning in their performances. So the rumor is that Marvel might shelve these movies, and maybe we'll see them come back on the streaming service later on, like as here's Legends, where like they do with Star Wars Legends, where these aren't official movies, but here you go.
But doesn't Dark Phoenix already have a release date of like next
December or something?
Is it December?
Pushed back to February, which was around the
okay.
time they'll becoming the new company. So.
I had my concerns about Dark Phoenix with Sophie Turner being Jean Grey. I wasn't sold on her. The biggest loss if they reboot the whole X-Men First Class group is if they drop this Quicksilver, because I think Quicksilver has been by far the best part of the new X-Men First Class. You guys?
I think Boy as Xavier and was it Fassbender as Magneto? I think they've been pretty good.
Yeah, they were both good. I agree there.
But it would be a great opportunity for them to reintroduce the Quicksilver character with the guy who plays it in the X-Men universe into the Marvel universe.
Right.
I mean, they could do. I don't know how they would play it. Well, see, with Thanos thing, with them with Infinity
Could
War
bring him back or
dot 2 coming out. I don't know exactly what the name it's going to be, and they're going to realign history because a lot of people come back into it.
Right.
They could bring him back in as whatever or however they want to bring X-Men into it. X-Men could be brought in and as a byproduct of the Infinity Stone
Right.
rebirth or whatever case may be, which would be a really cool way to do it, to explain where the mutants are starting to come from, other than the way they had to present it in Age of Ultron, where they were just enhanced
Genetically
humans,
enhanced
which
things,
was which, as much as I like the Scarlet Witch in the Marvel movies, that explanation never did settle well with me.
Yeah. So, Aaron, what other changes are going on?
So a few more rumors. Channing Tatum Gambit movie is not happening ever.
Oh.
Yes!
That's sad.
Another rumor is that X-Force will be canceled or be renamed as Deadpool 3 X-Force, and that they would bring the New Mutants actors over to that project.
Aaron, do you believe there's any chance at all that Disney will bring Deadpool into the MCU as a more watered down character, or is that one of the properties that will probably always stay rated R?
I think if it's a Deadpool only movie, like a Deadpool 3, then it'll probably be rated R. But I could see him like guest starring, like Deadpool popping up in an X-Men movie or a Avengers movie or whatever.
Just some random.
And then he would be watered down in those.
That would still be fun, though.
Yeah, just tame enough to get by. Yeah. Okay. So the New Mutant actors and characters, they're talking about them being in X-Force or being in Deadpool.
Yeah, there was talks of when they did the X-Force movie eventually that Cable would take over the New Mutants. Like, New Mutants would be Chapter 1, and then Cable would take over the next movie and turn them into X-Force or whatever.
Okay. Anything else?
A couple of quick other rumors. Marvel already has unofficial plans for Silver Surfer and Galactus. Now, whether that's Avengers 4, I don't know. I think that was, there was rumors of that last year, that there was already a background deal between Fox and Marvel.
Could you imagine, though, them bringing in, having this big fight with Thanos in Avengers 4 or this next one that they're going to put out, and then right as it looks like the Avengers are going to lose, here comes Silver Surfer in.
Rolls in and grabs the gauntlet.
And,
That'd be awesome.
And then Galactus is just like, I've seen what's going on. It's time to eat this planet.
And then the Fantastic Four show up.
That would just be amazing.
Yeah.
That could all be done in a cutscene.
Yeah. Aaron?
The final rumor is that the mutants will be introduced into the MCU through the Eternals movie.
I don't really know who the Eternals are.
So Eternals is Thanos' people.
Okay. So,
And they have a history in the comic books of altering the course of humanity throughout the thousands of years. They've been like tinkering with genetics and stuff, so it makes sense that they would be behind the mutants.
Or do you think they could possibly, Aaron, and this is just me throwing something out there, do you think that they could possibly bring the mutants in through something that happens with the Reality Stone? Could that have a connection?
Yeah, it could be something like that, or Scarlet Witch, or everybody's already got the genes in them to become mutants, and they just turn it on, however they activate it. Something like that.
Anyway, it would work as long as they're in there.
right. It'll be interesting to see what they do. Like it's crazy that it happened literally 3 months after Avengers Infinity War came out, because how awesome would Avengers Infinity War have been if they would have had this full spectrum of all the heroes to bring in. I know I already fanboyed about it enough, but like to be able to have the X-Men in there and the Fantastic Four in there, and it would have just been, I don't know. I mean, it was just, we already had a ton of heroes as it was, but to see a full-on Thanos versus like 25 or 30 heroes and him going full-powered would have been pretty sweet. So, Aaron, anything else with the Fox and Disney stuff?
Just again, they said if this is true, the New Mutants movie and Dark Phoenix are just terrible, terrible films. Apparently, they keep saying over and over it's worse than Fantastic Four, and that movie was a train wreck. So
that's crazy.
Which is sad, because I was really looking forward to the Dark Phoenix movie, because I liked the Apocalypse movie.
I did too.
I thought the Age of Apocalypse was good.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people hated it, but I didn't. I thought it was a good movie. So I was really looking forward to this one coming out to kind of finish off that set. But
I just wonder if they're going to keep any of the actors, or if they're going to recast everybody.
well, I mean, if they're going to go with some kind of reality bender, they're going to have to. They would almost have to change some characters around, because you got McAvoy and the guy who plays I can't remember his name.
Fassbender? Magneto?
Yeah, Fassbender plays Magneto, and they go back to the 1960s as those characters. So you would have to reboot the entire thing to bring it into the modern age. I mean,
Yeah.
you could use them characters, but
yeah.
those actors have already been established as those characters. So I think that would almost be a hard sell.
Okay, let me throw this out there. One actor from the Fox Marvel verse gets carried over as the same character into the Marvel Disney universe. Who would you pick?
That'd be a hard one, because they're all pretty good.
This is my parameters. My assumption is that Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool will not change. So, excluding him.
I think the only one that comes to my mind is Hugh Jackman, and he's already out of the picture.
But he said he would come back if they merged with Disney.
He did say that he'd come back. Yeah, that's mine. Hugh Jackman is Wolverine, because them replacing Wolverine I think it would be difficult.
That would be such a hard sell that they have to replace him as Wolverine. Because I can remember back to the original X-Men movie. It was like, who is this guy?
But he nailed it.
But as he grew into the character, he became better. And Logan is
Old Man Logan is
the movie Logan is one of the best comic book movies ever, even though it's like ultra violent.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the movie. It was really good. That was the top notch of him playing that character. And Patrick Stewart as Xavier in that movie were absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
So that would be hard. It would be hard to
hard
replace him in anything. For me, I think the ones you have to pick, I think is if you're going to bring any of them over, if you had to pick one, it would have to be the guy who it would have to be Quicksilver.
I agree with that, but the thing is, they've already killed off Quicksilver.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about earlier. How would you get around that?
Well, then in that case, then you would have to bring in Magneto.
Well, then also in the comics, though, Scarlet Witch goes crazy quite a bit and alters realities.
Yeah, so I mean something like that. Charlie, who would be yours?
Probably Beast.
Yeah,
Kelsey Grammer or the young guy?
The young guy.
Yeah.
The
Hello.
About a boy, not Frasier. About a boy.
Hello.
Yeah, I like him. He's a really good.
Does a great job with that character.
Does I like that?
Now that would be a great pitch where you have like the Frasier voice and you hear him talking on the radio that comes in and it's actually Beast.
Yeah, so like
doing a
Don't
self-help
know
show.
what to do with those tossed salads and scrambled
on the
cheese.
Marvel streaming service.
Coming again.
Kelsey Grammer as Beast, the mutant psychologist.
That would be awesome.
Good.
I could watch those as a short.
Oh my gosh, Brian.
I mean, I was originally thinking Hugh Jackman, but I don't know, the Magneto comment you made, John, kind of, that's a good one.
He's absolutely amazing in that character. In the last one that we saw, the Age of Apocalypse, where his daughter
dies.
When he puts that necklace through every one of them, oh my gosh.
So good.
you can literally feel his pain at that moment. And so
I'm like, this guy's not a villain.
And I'd love to see him go up against like a Tony Stark, him as Magneto, bringing that in.
Around him.
Yeah, and having them in the MCU. Yeah, he comes flying. That would be so awesome. And he's like, what? You bring this? He's like, and he just like...
messes with Captain America's shield.
Yeah, just crushes his shield. That would be so sweet.
Good stuff. Magneto would be great.
Real quick, Tim.
Yeah.
I think that if they're going to do a clean slate, they have to recast everybody because the audience is going to be very confused if you don't. If you bring in somebody from the other movies, you're going to say, oh, so those movies count or they're part of the MCU. And
this is true.
Yeah. Okay, I can see that.
I see what you're saying. I know that Marvel already has Phase 2, Phase 3, whatever planned out, but you almost wonder with the merger of everything, if they could almost do a clean slate of everything, even all their movies, finish up Infinity Wars, wrap up their 2 or 3 movies they have, and then just do a blank, clean slate of everything and start a whole new storyline out. Because, I mean, you're probably losing some big major characters in this next movie, quote unquote, permanently. So, I guess I want to see a complete Marvel universe with everybody, but that's just a thought. But on that note, we are probably going to wrap it up. We thank you for hanging out with us. Aaron, thank you for bringing the Marvel news and going full Aaron. We're always appreciative of that. Check out, if you didn't already listen to it, check out, what was it called? Mintwoas. Starring Joey Lawrence. Mintwoas. And let us know your thoughts. Whoa. Charlie, where can they catch us?
Well, sometimes at the Kroger on Dixie Highway. Oh, you mean on the internet?
At the sushi bar at the Kroger.
At the
that sushi bar
at Eastern
no
House
joke.
Buffet.
Oh, that's no joke either.
You can catch us on
Floors
YouTube, YouTube, SoundCloud,
Still
Google
good.
Play, Apple Podcast, and wherever fine collectibles are sold. And Facebook.
See you later, players.
And I'm working on the
friends.
MySpace page.
Aaron, what do you got for us?
MySpace.
whoa!
The Five Live Bears.